Woohoo! We are live. This is Math 40, and we are doing elementary algebra 1.5. We're going to be subtracting, but not just anything. We're going to be subtracting real numbers, which makes it sound fancy. And again, I'll remind you, we're not just subtracting. We're actually going back to subtraction and looking at it in a more holistic way. We're taking a deeper dive into subtraction so that it's actually something a lot deeper than just the minuses that you were working with in elementary school. In order to do this, I do want to talk about the minus sign or the minus symbol. So there are a bunch of different uses of minuses. These are 3 of them. So if I write a number and then a minus sign and then another number, this is subtraction. It is read as 5 minus 18. So it counts as subtraction. A minus sign next to a number is actually a negative sign. It means that it is either -5 or the opposite of 5, your choice. You actually can read it either way. And if you get 2 minuses in a row like this, it is read as the opposite of -5. Or you could, if you just really enjoy it, you could say it's the opposite of 5. What do opposites do? Opposites change the sign of the number or variable right after it. Ooh, I realized that I like the phrase following it better. Of course, my brain didn't tell me to use following it until after I'd written down right after it, but you get the gist. On a line graph, what is an opposite? It flips you over to the mirror image. So much like the upside down, but this is not quite upside down, it's the other side of 0. So if I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, if I am at 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, the opposite of 4 sits over here. So they are, if you imagine that the 0 is the mirror, that's where the mirror is, there's the 4, there's the -4. Or here's the -4, the opposite of -4 or -4 is +4. The opposite of +4, -4. The opposite of -4 is +4. You see how it goes? It goes back and forth like that. Oh, did you catch what I just did? Back and forth? I know, I'm hilarious. Okay, so before we go any further, I do want to, I know we've talked about this before in other videos, but this seems appropriate right now to talk about this now. There are 2 different buttons. The minus sign that comes between like the plus and the multiplied right there, that is strictly a minus sign. That is strictly for subtraction like that. 2 numbers getting subtracted. So for example, I could write 5, oops, I have to turn it on. 5 minus 18 equals -13. So that's subtraction. There's another key, and it's kind of hard to see on mine. I know it's a little small, but this looks like, and it looks like a little, so I'm going to draw it right here. Mine looks like a key that has a minus in parentheses, or you might see a plus minus key because it flips back between plus and minus if you hit it multiple times. Or, and I've even seen this, and this is, I think this is coming out of favor now because it's a lot of work, but it has like a plus and a minus and some arrows. So it's this idea, it's the circle of life. Here we could all start singing about calculators. It's the calculator of life. Okay, anyway, that's enough of that. So what are we going to do with minuses and negative signs and opposite signs and all? Well, the next thing I'm going to show you is this problem. I've got the opposite of -3. So we are already at -3, right? So that would be like here. And if I say, what's the opposite of -3? We would go to the other side of the mirror and we'd end up at +3. And so some people, and here I'm not going to put in the plus, it's understood. If you want to write a plus, that's fine. Some people like to do this. Some people like to do something else. And by some people, I mean me. And I made this up for myself and I'm very impressed with that. Are you guys ready? You should probably be sitting to see this. Okay, you ready? I'm going to tell you that when two minuses come together, here we go. When two minuses come together, it turns into a plus. Wait, let me show you again. Minus, 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 plus. So two minuses together make a plus. Another way to look at it, the way that I always talk about it, negative numbers are what we, when I was young, back in the 1580s, we used to call Goths. Well, we had Visigoths back then, but Goths. And I think nowadays is frequently referred to as emo. I've even heard the phrase baby bat, which I love. Oh my gosh, that's so adorable. So a -3 is emo or goth. Now, when are they happiest? They are happiest when there's other goths around. So if you get two goths together, we've got a happy, happy number. And the idea here is I'm going to be referring to numbers as happy when they're positive and sad or goth or emo when they're negative. So two minuses makes a plus. Lots of ways to look at it. Okay, so then what happens if, and here I'll write this one bigger, and this is a lot to take in because a bunch of parentheses are hard to parse. Now you'll notice, if you can see the way that it gets written when I type it up, all the parentheses are the same size. Notice a sneaky thing I did here, and I kind of did it automatically just because I've been doing math for a long time, about 4 or 5 centuries or so. These two parentheses on the inside are smaller, and these parentheses on the outside are bigger so that you can visually see which is which. The other thing you can do is pick two contrasting colors, and I'm a big fan of the highlighter. And although it's a little smeary, I am going to take you to Smeary Town, but it's not terrible. It's not terrible. That's the other thing you can do. You can use colors, color code it so that you can see it more easily. Another way to do it is you don't have to use parentheses at all. You could use brackets on the outside and parentheses on the inside if you want. If that makes it easier to see, go for it. These are all options. This is where style comes into algebra. There will be a lot of style. I have a certain style to my algebra. You will notice your other teachers do as well. Anyone who tells you that math is pure and has nothing to do with style and everyone does the same math, they don't know anything. You can tell them I said that. I probably also went, hey. So yeah, you're right. They're wrong. Always true. My students are the best and the most awesome people on the planet. Everyone else, not so much. Until they're my student, then, they become awesome. So if I have -3 and I have the opposite of -3, that was a +3. And then I've got another minus. So I go minus, minus, minus. These two minuses cancel each other out, and I'm left with a minus. So another way to remember this is an even number of minuses, and you get a plus. And if you have an odd number of minuses, you get a minus. So even number is positive, odd number is negative. So that's another way to remember it. Or plus. Okay. So that's the first page. Shall we see what comes on the second page? Dun, dun, dun. Yet more excitement, YME. What is the opposite of 0? 0 doesn't have a sign. So a lot of people look at that and their brains just kind of go fizzle, fizzle, crack, pop. But not you, because you're my student and you're awesome. The opposite of 0 is just 0. What is its reflection across the 0 on the number line? It's in the middle. It stays in the middle. If you want, we can all sing a little Christina Aguilera. 0 doesn't see its own reflection because it's already there. I know it's profound. It's profound. Basically, slap a minus in front of a 0, you're going to get a 0. There's just nothing more interesting is going to happen. Okay, now this is fairly rude. Why would we even deal with absolute value? Well, because absolute value turns out to be really important in math. Ugh, it's frustrating because it can be really, really scary and hard. It's one of the things I'm most scared of in math was absolute values. Ugh, hated them when I was in school. Okay, so what happens here? Well, this is the problem. Normally, the two minuses come together to make a plus, but these two minuses are stuck. They cannot get to each other because of the absolute value. So what we have to do is what we have to do. There we go. Sometimes I say things that are just so true, it hurts. The absolute value part will turn the -3 into a +3. Right? Absolute value of -3 is +3. But what's happening outside? There's another minus waiting. So after the -3 makes its transformation to 3, the minus comes up and we're back. I don't even know what that is. What? I don't know. I have a little thing to fix things like that, but I can't find it right now. So I'm going to need a little help, Godzilla. It's always good when Godzilla comes by. What? I didn't make a mistake. So the final answer should be -3. Let me see if I can just make it really dark. No one will ever notice, right? There we go. Okay, now how is 5 different? Well, let's take a good look at this. Again, whenever something is scary, write big. Write really big. So you can see all the little nooks and crannies. Nothing escapes, nothing can hide from you. It's all there out in the open. Okay, minus and a minus. And notice this is parentheses. These are round, not straight. So these two minuses can totally get to each other. So here we've got all of this inside. The whole thing becomes a +3 inside. And then what's the absolute value +3? +3. Okay. Now, these two, I would expect most people would be like, I don't know so much. And I agree with you. This is some weird stuff. There will be practice in the homework. That's the whole point of homework. Homework is there to practice, to build your skills, to reinforce what I've said, to give you a chance to see, like, did it make sense? And, but absolutely, you could come to me and say, hey, remember that lecture 4 and 5? Can you give me some more? And I or a tutor, we could write probably an infinite number of these. You wouldn't have time for an infinite number of them, but we could write a lot of them, and we could just practice until that lovely little light bulb goes off. Woohoo. Okay, now that we've done all the stuff that isn't subtraction, let's do some subtraction. So I said 5 minus 3 equals 2 because you take 3 away from 5, right? So if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I've got these little, whatever they are, little olives. Oh, black olives, yummy. Okay, so I got 5 black olives. And if I take 3 of them away, I'm left with 2, right? That was how you were probably taught subtraction. Probably not with olives. You probably learned it with apples or pies or something. Vampires, maybe vampires. Blah, blah. But what is 3 minus 5? So in other words, if I try to draw a picture of this, I've got 3, and then I try to take 5. It doesn't really make sense. It's hard to draw a picture of it. However, the picture doesn't work. I'm gonna write the picture doesn't work. However, what if I said I have $3? I spent $5. How much do I have now. Okay, well, if I only had $3 and I spent $5, where did I get the other $2 from? I still owe someone $2. I owe $2. I must have borrowed $2 from a friend. So that's the idea. Now, the other possibility, if all this that I just did, your head is spinning and you're like, yeah, none of that is making sense to me. I'm going to say, okay, we're going to go for a lot of this that subtracting is adding the opposite. So go back, make sure the previous section makes sense. Make sure you did all the homework from 1.4 and you know how to do it backwards and forwards. You're good. You got the addition down. And then come here, and I'm going to say, you know what? Why don't we just never do subtraction again? Now, you're going to say, wait. 5 minus 4. Well, that's just 1. I know that one. And I say, okay. But it's also 5 plus a negative 4. At which point you're going to laugh at me and say, oh, yeah, that's so much easier. And it isn't. I agree. 5 minus 4, you probably have memorized. But you can also approach it as 5 plus a negative 4. And you could either graph it, right? We got the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You start at 5. You're adding, so you normally go to the right, but it's negative, so you go to the left. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, and we end up at 1. Right? So you could do the graph, you could do the addition, you've got options. And that's the point, is if you get stuck, if something doesn't come to mind, then you can figure it out. You don't have to just sit there. Or, let's be honest, again, you can use a calculator. There's no shame in calculators. I know a lot of teachers have very strong feelings about this. And as far as I can tell, that tells me those teachers aren't dyslexic. And I am. And so I reverse things all the time. I don't always trust my eyes. Sometimes they don't tell me the right things. Sometimes my brain tells me things, but then they get all turned around by the time I say them or write them down. So this is like my best friend here. I love my calculator because 5 minus 4 equals, it's 1. I can check my work. Now, again, I'm going to keep saying it. I'm not telling you to do everything on your calculator and let your brain turn to jello. Nobody needs a jello brain. Exercising your brain, doing a lot of thinking, it's been shown to be really good for the brain's health. As you get older, you will appreciate doing more things in your brain, puzzles and math. It's really good for you. But can you have a calculator to double check? Absolutely. It's awesome. Plus, if you're in the, the awesome dyslexic club, fist bump. Luddle. Okay, what about 4 minus 5? Well, let's be honest. There is the calculator option. So we could start there. I mean, I don't think it's the devil. 4 minus 5 equals -1. We're done. But why? Why is that true? Well, so let's look at it. 4 minus 5, I said subtraction is the same as adding the opposite, which means it's 4 plus a -5. Okay. Here's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Here I am at 4. Now, if I'm adding a -5, same thing. Normally, adding goes to the right, but -5 goes to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where am I? I'm here. I'm 1 unit to the left. I'm at -1. Okay, or I had $4. I spent $5, so I owe someone $1. I spent more money than I had, so I had to borrow $1. That's the other way to do it. You can do it with the graph. You can do it with the calculator. You can do it with a story. Woohoo. You can do it with the help of tutors, except not on the test, but Okay, shall we just do it? Lots and lots of subtraction. Yay, lots of subtraction. There isn't, the only thing that Godzilla likes more than subtraction, it's environmental stewardship. So environmental stewardship and subtraction make Godzilla a very happy person or lizard or mom. She's actually female. But okay, so I love this first one because it looks so complicated. Oh man, it looks like a nightmare. 5 minus a -4. But remember what I said? Subtracting is adding the opposite. So I'm going to change it to 5 plus. And what's the opposite of -4? +4. It's 9. It looked like a nightmare. It's not a nightmare. Tricksy math. The other thing to point out, there's a minus and a minus. There's parentheses between them. So 2 minuses make a plus. Okay. 4 minus a -5. Okay, again, looks like a nightmare, isn't really a nightmare. This is an important lesson in math. Just because math is scary does not mean it's impossible, nor does it mean it's hard. It's just scary looking. Some scary looking things are actually really awesome. Like, for example, if you want a nightmare tonight, look up what a baby ladybug looks like. Ugh, those things give me nightmares. But ladybugs, awesome. Same thing with subtraction. Okay, 4 minus a -5 is really 4 plus. I changed this to a plus, right? The minus turns into a plus. And then I changed the second number to its opposite. Oh my gosh, we got 9 again. 4 plus 5 is 9. -5 minus 4. Now, personally, I might do this with a story. I owed $5. So I spent $5 and I spent $4. Oh man, I spent $9. Another way to look at it is -5, change it to addition, change the 4 to the -4. -5 plus -4, it's 2 minuses. They're like signs. It becomes -9. -4 minus 5. I leave the -4, I turn this to a plus, and the 5 becomes a -5. Okay, same thing. -4 plus -5, they're both negative, so I add them together and I get -9. Hopefully it's not that terrible, but I understand. If it is, feel free to absolutely hate this. My goal is not to make you love math. I mean, if that happens, awesome, and I get a toaster, but you don't have to love math. My goal is that you survive math. Maybe even learn some. That would be awesome. Okay, -5 stays -5. The minus becomes a plus. This guy changes to its opposite, and now we've got something that's a little bit more complicated. It's -5, so I spent $5, and then I earned $4. So I could pay back part of this. That's a -1. This is the rule that says when they're different signs, when I'm adding and they're different signs, I find the difference. Like, what's the difference between 5 and 4? It's basically 1. Now, what's my sign? My sign is 5. What's your sign? Well, it's negative. So it's negative here because 5 is bigger than 4. So that was that rule we had with the addition back then. Okay, -4 minus a -5. So again, I leave the first one. I do not change the first number at all. The minus becomes a plus, and the second number becomes its opposite. I owed someone $4, and then I earned $5, so I could pay them back, and I had a whole dollar left over. Or they're opposite signs when I'm adding. So I take the difference, which is 1, and then I take the sign of the bigger number, which is a positive. Your choice. Story, addition, calculator. These are all the tools you'll have. Oh my gosh. I know we're at 24 minutes, but you know what I know. It's the last page. Woohoo! We're almost done with 1.5. This is so exciting. Spoilers, we're about to multiply and divide. I know. We're all very excited about this. Now, here's the less fun. Number 9 is a little complicated. And for those of my fellow dyslexic folks, this is going to be a lot. It's a bunch of numbers. And I'll remind you that you can totally enter this into a calculator, but you got to enter it exactly as it is. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do it without a calculator. So I'm going to look through and I see, okay, I've got a negative 24. I'm going to change this to plus a 28. This changes, the minus there changes to plus a positive, because this was negative, so this is a positive 28. The other way to look at it is two minuses in a row become a plus. Okay. Now this minus is going to become a plus, minus 48 plus 44. Now I'm putting them all in parentheses to show you that I've got a bunch of pluses running around. If I've got a bunch of pluses running around, then I'm allowed to move things around. Specifically, I'm going to put the negative numbers together. I'm going to move this guy over here, and then I'm going to move this guy over here. So far, so good. And then these two together, remember the associative property says I can add them in any order I like. These are both negative numbers. So negative 24 plus a negative 48 is going to be a negative 72. And you're like, whoa, where'd that come from? And I'm going to say, well, 24 hours, 48 hours. This is 1 day. This is 2 days, 3 days, 72. So far, so good. Plus, now 28 plus 44. This one is not easy. So you can either do it in your head or over here. No shame in old school adding. 8 plus 4 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3 plus 4 is 7. Oh, look at that. Negative 72 plus a positive 72. Is this not so awesome? Now, do you have to do it this way? Absolutely not. All the rules we have are set up so that you choose. It's choose your own adventure. Math is always going to be choose your own adventure. Could you just add it straight up just like this? Negative 24 plus 28 is 4. Minus 48, negative 44 plus 44 is 0. So if you wanted to, you could just go straight through like this. You could change them around. Lots of options. Cool answer, 0. Aww. And then the last one is I just wanted to make sure we did one using English. And because sometimes it gets confusing that we subtract negative 13 from negative 142. What we mean is start with the negative 142 and you subtract the negative 13 like that. So that's the translation of it. When I ask you to subtract, you have to change the order. I'm sorry, I am, hundreds of years old. But I wasn't around when someone decided that. So that was, I would have recommended something else. I would have said, hey, guys, don't you think that's going to be a little confusing? And then I would have been burned at the stake. So it's probably best if I didn't try to do math back then. It's a lot easier to do math now. Okay. I know I was sneaky. I distracted you from what I was doing. Negative 142 stays there. The minus becomes a plus. This negative 13 becomes a positive 13. And then I think, ugh. And then either you know how to do this, or you go to a calculator, or you do a sneaky thing. They're negative and positive means they are not like terms, so you have to find the difference. So 142 minus 13, I have to find the difference. Oh my gosh, there's borrowing involved. Okay, so this is 3. This becomes 12. 12 minus 3 is 9. 1 out of 3 is 2. 129. And then I look at this and I go, oh, the bigger one is negative. So it's got to be negative 129. Bam. We're done. You guys survived. You guys are so awesome. Yay. We did it. Next up, we're going to multiply and divide and a whole bunch of other shenanigans. And if I say goodbye now, we ended under 30 minutes. Oh, shoot. We just went into 30 minutes. Okay. Shh, don't tell anyone this was so long. Math on, guys. Math on.